Year one of the Kenny Dillingham era starts this season for the Arizona State Sun Devils, and the former Oregon offensive coordinator coming over to an Arizona State program which had its ups and downs under former head coach Herm Edwards. However, coming into this season, there are some things working against him, including having to replace a lot of talent and a very, very tough road to navigate through the Pac-12 conference. So can Arizona State and Kenny Dillingham push through and make a bowl game here in year one? Or is Arizona State going to be a team that's left in the Pac-12's dust in 2023? We'll find out. But what's up, Tailgaters? My name is Tailgate Nate. Welcome to my channel. I'm predicting all 133 FBS level college football teams this summer, which means I'm doing your favorite team. So hit the subscribe button and ring the bell so you know when that video gets uploaded. But hey, there are more ways than that, and you can help me support my channel. You're already doing one by watching the video, and you can do more by liking, commenting, sharing, and anything else you guys can think of to help support my channel. Does mean a lot to me. Without further ado, let's talk about Arizona State in 2023. Year one of the Kenny Dillingham era begins this season. Hey, how do we do preview predictions around here? I'm glad you asked. Let's break it down. Let's talk about it. We go through a roster overview, take a look at who the team lost, who's coming back, and who's coming in through the transfer portal and recruiting class, as well as taking a look at the 2023 Sun Devils football schedule and giving it a game-by-game preview and prediction. So without further ado, let's dive into the Sun Devils football schedule, or I guess football preview overall in 2023. Taking a look at this roster, first and foremost, my PowerPoint slide would transition. There we go. You do lose with who was your presumable starting quarterback last year in Emory Jones. 1,533 yards, 7 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions last year. Not great numbers from him. However, you do return Trenton Bourget, I believe is how you say that last name, but again, I apologize for mispronunciations across the board. He had 1,490 yards, 11 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions on 71% completion last year. Did throw 204 passes, was pretty solid as a member of the Sun Devils. But the Sun Devils do get a guy coming in here that can compete with him for that starting spot. Former Notre Dame quarterback Drew Pine enters here. And I don't know what the talk is, Sun Devils fans around camp. Let me know in the comment section below. But Bourget and Pine, I think, is going to be a very interesting quarterback battle. And either one of them, I think, would be a fine option to start under center for Kenny Dillingham's team. In the running back room, well, your top 2 leading rushers, in fact, the only 2 guys that had over 100 yards last season, are gone. In fact, you lose a 1,000-yard rusher and Xavier Valade, who had 1,192 yards and 16 rushing touchdowns for this team last year, as well as Daniel Ngata, 54 carries, 272 yards, and the touchdown for him last season. You are getting transfers coming in to help replace what you lost in the running back room. DeCarlos Brooks is going to be a guy coming over through Cal, I do believe. Yep, through Cal, 3-star rated transfer. My apologies. And then Cameron Scatabo is coming over from Sacramento State. He's also a 3-star rated transfer according to 24/7 Sports. In the wide receiver room, you do lose Brian Thompson, was your 3rd leading receiver among wide receivers last year, 377 yards for him last season. You do return Elijah Badger and Giovanni Sanders. That was your top 2 receivers among wide receivers and your top 2 receivers overall last year. Badger, 866 yards and 7 touchdowns, and Sanders, 500 yards and a touchdown for him last season, as well as getting some transfers coming in to this program as well. Xavier Gilroy comes in, Jordan Tyson coming over as well. I believe he's over from Colorado, and then Melquan Stovall coming over by way of Colorado State. So some good pieces in the wide receiver room there for Arizona State. In the tight end room, you do return Jalen Conyers and Messiah Swinson. Conyers, 422 yards, 5 touchdowns last year, was the 3rd, leading receiver on this team last season. Offensive line, you do lose Chris Martinez, Ben Scott, who's going over to Nebraska, I do believe, and Des Holmes. However, you're going to return Isaiah Glass and get some transfers coming in Ben Coleman and Aaron Frost, who's a 4-star rated transfer coming over from Nevada. On the defensive side of things, what can we expect from this Sun Devils team? Well, you lose a lot of talent here as well. Nesta Jade Silvera, Tautala Pesafea. I know I said that last name, probably first name wrong too. I apologize. You also lose Joe Moore and Trevez Moore. Not sure if there's any relation there at all. But a team that didn't generate a whole lot of sacks last year. Pesafea had 2.5 sacks. last year. He is gone. Trevez Moore had half a sack last year. Joe Moore had 2 sacks. However, you do get a guy who had 2.5 sacks last year back in Anthony Cooper. BJ Green does come back as well to be a part of that defensive line, and some transfers coming over in Clayton Smith and Deshaun Mallory. In the linebacker room, Kyle Sowell, however you say that last name again, I apologize. 110 tackles last year. That led the team. He is gone. So is Merlin Robertson, who had 83 tackles and again tied for that team lead with 2.5 sacks last season. He was your 3rd leading tackler, as well as Connor Sowell, again, however you say that last name, 30 tackles last year. He is also gone. You do return James DeJonkman, and Will Schaefer, who is coming back to this team as well. Taking a look at the transfer as well in Travion Brown, who also comes over to this team. Now, he comes over by way of Washington State, by the way. In the defensive back grouping, Tamarcus Davis and Karoy Bethley are all going to be gone. Bethley was the 2nd leading tackler last year. However, you are going to return Chris Edmonds, who had 3 interceptions last season. You do return Roe Torrance, who had an interception last year, and Jordan Clark, who had 2 interceptions last season, as well as getting a transfer coming over, and Xavier Alford as well. Now, this is a very, very, very interesting mixed bag here, right? You got some transfers coming in, you got some holes to fill, and a first-year head coach. We'll see what the Sun Devils do in 2023. Your head coach is Kenny Dillingham, offensive coordinator is Bo Baldwin, and defensive coordinator is Brian Ward. As now we're going to take a look at the 2023 football schedule for the Arizona State Sun Devils, and it's got a lot of big games on the schedule this year for the talent that's on this team. Any game at home is going to be underlined. Any game on the road is going to be in italics or the slanted text. A game in green means Arizona State should win it fairly easily. Any game in yellow is a game where the other team puts up a fight, but Arizona State's going to be able to win, and red is a loss. So without further ado, let's predict Arizona State in 2023. I do think they're going to start off the year with a nice win against Southern Utah, be able to kind of see what you have, mix and match a few pieces, but they should be able to get a win there. And then comes your Power 5 opponent here in Oklahoma State. Now, they do get this game at home, but Oklahoma State, I think, is going to be a pretty solid team coming out of the Big 12 this year. And there's one thing that you never do. It is you never, ever doubt that head coach in Mike Gundy. He is losing Spencer Sanders and a lot of other pieces as well. However, I think that's still going to be a very solid team. And again, I just don't know that a lot of things are going to translate with all the transfers coming into Arizona State this year. I think that's a game that Arizona State's going to end up dropping. I think Oklahoma State's going to find some things, especially defensively, that are going to work, slow down this offense, and be able to get the win on the road there against Arizona State. But the Sun Devils bounce back nicely. Close, tough game here against Fresno State. That's a team that I really like this year as well out of the Mountain West Conference. They're going to be a tough opponent to play, as they have been for a lot of teams in seasons past. But Arizona State, I believe, is going to be able to get that win there and move to 2-1 on the season. But then you run into trouble because your Pac-12 slate is coming up next. And, well, it starts off with probably the toughest Pac-12 opponent this season in USC. Now, that defense does have question marks, but it loaded up on depth this offseason. And then when you take a look at that offense, it is world-class. Caleb Williams and company are one of the most talented offenses in the nation, and you got one of the most gifted offensive minds in football in Lincoln Riley as your head coach. USC is not going to slow down for anything against this Sun Devils team, and they're going to be able to win fairly easily here, I would say. And then going on the road to play Cal here, I think that's a game that they drop as well. Cal is a very, very talented team this year. There are a lot of very good players coming into that program, as well as what's coming back. I like Justin Wilcox's team a lot. I think Cal's going to find a lot of things that work offensively, defensively. I think they're going to be able to break down Arizona State in that game, be able to get that victory, especially with the way that I think Cal is going to be able to play defense this year. I think that Cal defense can be pretty solid. And they're going to be able to beat Arizona State. So will Colorado. We know the story in Boulder. Deion Sanders has flipped Colorado on its head. Colorado is literally hanging upside down right now. I have some buddies that are over there, and they say it is just hanging upside down. They don't quite know what happened, right? Everything's just been flipped. It's like reverse gravity. It's like you're standing. It's like if you're looking at Earth, and it's like one person is standing up here at the top of the Earth, and then one person is standing down there, but the person that's standing down there is like actually upside down. That's what it feels like in Boulder, Colorado right now. Really bad analogy. I apologize for those of you that actually had to listen to that. But basically what I'm saying is Deion Sanders has brought in a lot of very, very talented players. Colorado could be a very, very interesting make or break season. Not necessarily that it's an important season, but they can either be really, really good or they're going to need a year to really get the thing off the ground. But they're going to be competitive. They're going to be a good football team. That maybe the record will not show it, but I think they're going to beat the Arizona State Sun Devils. A lot of talent on that Colorado team that starts with Shedeur Sanders. A lot of good pieces, especially in the secondary transferring in Travis Hunter and Cormani McClain, a freshman coming in there as well. And then after your bye week, I do think you lose to Washington as well. That's a very talented football team. If that secondary can improve, the defensive front seven can stay healthy. They got a very gifted offense with Michael Penix at quarterback and one of the best wide receiver groupings in the entire country. I think Washington's going to be really good this year, a playoff sleeper for sure, and they're going to be able to win that game. Washington State is another team here that I look at and I see, well, look, you got to replace a lot of pieces defensively there as well, but Arizona State's replacing a lot of offensive pieces, and Cameron Ward has got a lot of new toys to work with in the wide receiver room. Cameron Ward, a very, very talented quarterback, and I think by this point, he's going to have made chemistry with at least 1, 2, if not maybe 3 wide receivers in that room, and Washington State uses the passing attack to get past Arizona State here in that game. And then you got 3 very tough games coming up, if not 4 very tough games coming up, because Utah, I think, is going to be a very, very physical team. I think they're going to be able to outmuscle a lot of people this year. Cam Rising is also a very, very experienced quarterback. And I think Utah here is going to be a team that is going to be pretty solid yet again in 2023, and they end up beating Arizona State. So does UCLA. A lot of talented pieces in that quarterback room to be able to replace what they lost in Dorian Thompson-Robinson. And then when you take a look at UCLA up and down the board, there's a lot of great defensive pieces. Whoever happens to play quarterback has a lot of great weapons to work with as well. And again, I don't think Arizona State's going to be able to keep up with either of it. I don't know that they're going to be able to do much against this UCLA defense, especially the Murphy brothers on the defensive line. So Arizona State loses that game. And what is that, their 7th straight? Okay, we'll go ahead and make it 8th. I think Oregon's going to be a very, very good team here in 2023 as well. Bo Nix is coming back, and he's got a lot of talent on the offensive side. Your couple leading rushers from last year do return, along with some great talent transferring in the wide receiver room. And yes, the defense does have some question marks, but look, when you take a look at what they've brought in the transfer portal, that's got the potential to be a very, very good Oregon defense and a team that I think is going to be able to beat Arizona State fairly handedly. And then I do think the Sun Devils lose to their rivals in Arizona as well. With Jaden DeLore, he's got a lot of very nice pieces in the running back room, and especially at the wide receiver position, especially 2 guys that are really, really talented. Now, the one thing about Arizona this year that they do lose a lot on defense, and they're going to have to replace a lot of very, very key pieces with some transfers that may or may not be able to fill the role. But offensively, I think it's going to be a very talented Arizona team. They're going to be able to beat Arizona State, which, sorry, Sun Devil fans, but I do have you going 2-10 this year. I think give Kenny Dillingham some time, be able to bring in some more transfers, some recruiting classes under his belt, and be able to really just feel life as a head coach there. He's been an offensive coordinator for one of the premier programs in the entire country. However, when you take a look at Arizona State, I think it's going to take a couple years for things to get underway in Tempe, Arizona. So that's going to do it for the Arizona State Sun Devils video. Let me know what you guys think about this team in the comment section below. But as always, remember to play hard but tailgate harder. See all you guys in the next one. Goodbye.